Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Nicole D. Miller, author, blogger, speaker, hybrid book publisher, and your host. At Girl Talk, we are a safe space for female leaders to engage in healing and edifying conversation. This is your Me Too empathetic corner, where we have authentic and transformative dialogue designed to uplift and connect high-achieving women like you. Are you looking for a safe space to cultivate sisterhood with other like-minded female bosses? Leave your cape at the door and join the conversation. Welcome to Girl Talk 101. I'm your host, Nicole D. Miller. This upcoming talk features two of the Pull-Up Experience's very own Brandon Gates and Stephen D. Jackson. The Pull-Up Experience is a phenomenal podcast that highlights entrepreneurs and changemakers in Cleveland and beyond. Hopefully you guys heard from these men in our panel discussion, Something for the Fellas, and now you can get the inside scoop from their one-on-one interviews. If for some reason you missed the conversation, run it back on the podcast. In this upcoming segment, Brandon goes into detail on the need for financial literacy in urban communities, the problematic consequences of systemic racism, male victims of domestic abuse, and the need for mental health therapy. Whew, heavy stuff, you guys. Then right after, you'll hear from Stephen. Stephen and I go back, as he is a dear brother who is usually behind the scenes, so it was nice to pull him to the front of the camera. Stephen gives insight into the struggle of introverted brand building, tips on seeking out mentorship, and the hustle of entrepreneurship and creatives. Additionally, there is never before seen heartfelt footage that features Walt Patton of Ghetto Therapy. After every Girl Talk, we have Q&A from the audience. In this footage, Walt opens up during our Q&A about his struggle as a father and being received in his own home, although he's doing so much work in the community. This moment was vulnerable, transparent, and beautiful. And it just reiterates how much men need these spaces to pour out, even if they themselves are the creatives of such spaces, just as Walt is. You can connect with all three men using their contact info in the show notes. Now, grab your favorite beverage, sit back, relax, and join the conversation. All right, so just to kick us off, I will introduce myself. My name is Nicole D. Miller, the host of Girl Talk. I'm super excited to let you guys hear more about Brandon Gates, who I have featured here for Girl Talk 101. And our next panel discussion is Something for the Fellas. Brandon is a representation of the Pull-Up Experience, but he wears a lot of hats himself. He's definitely an ideal guy to be on this panel discussion, to give us the tea for how men think who are male leaders in the Cleveland community. So, Brandon, I will go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Miss Nicole. I appreciate that. It's funny when you hear about some things you've done, you're like, I did that. But no, I will say this. I'm very purpose-driven, and I can tell by my story. But after almost dying and going through some things I've been through, you don't have time to not try to do something great in this world. So some things I've done, I'm the father of three beautiful children. I'm also an author. I'm also a podcaster, and I also I'm also a real estate agent and those many things. And like Nicole said, I don't know how I find time for all, but I do. Because it all goes back to doing what God's called me to do. So.
Now, I'm very intrigued by some of the things you just shared that I did not know about you. You mentioned you're an author, so I'd love to hear more about that, of course.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not like you, madam. No. But what I created was a guide on how to help my clients better their credit. Because a lot of time in our community, especially for us as minorities, our credit are in the best shape. So I created a guide to help those. Because it's funny, a lot of times people want to buy a house, but unfortunately, they don't know the first step is their credit and getting into a position to be able to qualify for a house. So I actually created it was literally made out of necessity, and I created a how-to guide of how to literally get their credit to a score that will help them get qualified. So that none fancy, none fancy.
But very vital, especially to our community. So definitely don't downplay that. Like I always appreciated when we have people who look like us in spaces of financial education because so many of impoverished communities, urban communities, lower socioeconomic communities do not have the knowledge, do not have the tools to help them have these assets. So
Hmm.
you're helping
Yeah.
to equip our community with those assets and knowledge.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I met with so many people. And I was like, I found the correlation was okay. Credit is obviously a problem amongst us. So how can I make it so it's one, easy to digest, and two, make made into a way that they can understand it and they can apply it. So that was kind of a challenge. And like I said, it just worked. And I was like, you know what? Let me put out there for everyone because the sad part about it now they don't have time to individually meet with people one on one. So what I'll send them the guide and it helps them out tremendously. So it works.
Yeah. Now you mentioned, our people are struggling in that area. Why do you think that is?
You know what? We will be here for too long, Nicole. It's the reason why they call racism systematic, right? But I won't go into the long haul of that. But I will say this: what the scriptures say? My people perish from a lack of knowledge. We're not educated enough on it. I can't tell you. I know how to write a check. When last time I wrote a check, they taught that in school, right? I can't tell you the last time I wrote a check, right? They don't teach us on credit. And I love how now we're in an age where my daughter's 18. My daughter knows about credit. She understands credit, right? And unfortunately, we're millennials, right? Our parents didn't know about credit, right? Credit bureaus started in 1979, I believe, right? So it was still fairly new to them. So how can I teach you on something they don't know, right? And we're being impacted by that lack of knowledge, and we're seeing it unfortunately on a national scale or whatnot. But now, thanks to internet and thanks to people like I can name off Earn Leisure, Joy. I'm not sorry, John Bryant. These are phenomenal black men who are teaching on these subjects. Now, if you don't know about credit, it's because you don't want to.
That's good. Now, I do think you bring up a good point that they're not teaching this information in the schools. And I do think that middle class or more privileged white families
Hmm.
or other ethnicities, they're teaching it at home, right? So, to your point, if in the Black community you're not getting this at home, you're not getting it in your school, when are you going to get it? I
Yeah.
personally was a beneficiary of my mother's example. She definitely had her
Hmm.
ups and downs, but she was a blue collar factory worker, but very frugal and saving and modeled
Hmm.
that for me. So I did kind of get that representation in the home, even if it wasn't like, here, let me sit down and teach you this, but she was modeling it. So that's to my benefit.
That's good.
I do want to pivot back to an earlier statement that you made. You said you almost died. So I definitely want to hear more about that.
Yeah. I don't harp on that too much because when in therapy, I learned that I use humor to help ease things and whatnot. But yeah, I'll go on the short version, not to be too long. I got married at 22, right? At 22 years old, you don't know you don't even know who you are, let alone who you want to marry, right?
Yeah.
And God bless my ex-wife, but unfortunately, when you don't understand what trauma is, you don't understand how someone handles the trauma, you become a victim of that trauma, right? And unfortunately, there's an incident where we had a disagreement, and I decided to leave. And right when I was deciding to leave, she said, "You ain't going nowhere," and decided to pick up a knife, and I got two stab wounds right here in my chest, right here.
Oh my
That
God.
re- that resulted in me having to go to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital, I died.
Oh my
They had to
God.
resuscitate me, and then I died again. I had open heart surgery.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. Not people know about it. You know how the church will say you don't look like what you've been through. No one knows about it, right?
That's wild.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. I don't talk about it too often. I think I only talked about it maybe twice. But
Well,
it's not something I talk about. But
I'm privileged. Thank you for sharing that on this platform.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. And I want to talk about it because a lot of men they won't talk about like not saying that I was abused or like that, but I had to realize, oh, I'm a victim of of some things and whatnot. Not knowing as a man, like how can I be a victim, right?
You're a
And I
domestic
say,
violence victim. Like, that's
yeah,
real.
yeah, no. therapy had helped me understand it because I didn't know that. I'm like, I'm not a victim, I'm a man, you know.
Wow.
But unfortunately, you know, I didn't think about that way, right? But yeah, so yeah, died twice, and God is good because you know I'm still here. But it was a hard road back. When I woke up, I was in a coma for a little bit. Woke back up, yeah. I couldn't walk for a little bit. I was in the hospital for about maybe what 5 weeks, and then it was another 2 month recovery after that. Yeah, it was a great time. And I say all that say, hmm,
I'm just like in shock at how you kind of, I don't want to say minimized it, but you're just kind of like, yeah, I just couldn't walk for a little bit and almost
yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, no. Like I said, and I want to say this to all men. Therapy is phenomenal. Like I was one of those black men. Like, oh, I ain't going to no therapy. I got the barbershop. You know, no, no. Therapy will help you understand. Yeah, that was a very traumatic time, and the fact that I never talked about it openly, I never expressed that. I was just like, I shrugged it off like it was nothing. Like, it was a paper cut. I died.
Because think about if that happened to a woman in your life, a mother, a sister, or just a woman
Yeah.
in general, how different would your response have been?
No, absolutely, absolutely. You know what's funny, Nicole? It's funny because, and I can say this on here or whatnot. I stayed married after that. By the way, I stayed married, and I lost a lot of friends and family when I decided to stay married because I thought, you know, this is what God wanted, and I can't even be mad at them because their reasoning was like, Brandon, I don't want to see you go through this again. Nor do I want the next call I get is you haven't had died at the hands of this woman who you decided to be with, right? And I don't hold nothing against anybody because it's real. Because I was hit with the question, like, it's my daughter, if it was my sister, how would I feel about that, right? So I don't blame anybody. But once again, these are not the thoughts that a man should have. You're taught like I'm a man, you know.
Yeah.
I should be able to power through it like it was nothing. When these are real problems or real thoughts that people have that they had a right to have. So
You know, even as we're having this discussion, it's bringing me to awareness of my own narrative kind of about men and in these situations and what's been ingrained in me from society or maybe from
mm,
home. I personally don't have a lot of men around me, and it's very like intentional. Like, it's like if you're around me, I trust you, there's a level of trust. So, even in
mm,
the panel discussion, I handpicked you guys. It's about the communication we've had, the conversations we've had, and that level of trust and security. But for me, it's like, wow, to hear you share and speak is educating me on my own biases and my own false perceptions of how would I view a man in a domestic violence situation. Like, we don't really talk about that. You know what I'm saying? And just how
yeah,
we kind of roll that off our backs and like, you're a man, tough it up, don't cry. But you're a person, you're a human being who almost died and then went back into the situation which so many women can relate
yeah,
to who are
yeah.
domestic violence survivors. We relate to that.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and like I said, as a man, he's like, oh, you know, I'm thinking, okay, it's my responsibility to take care of my family, all that good stuff and whatnot. And I'm not thinking that once again, there's a reason why this happened, right? I'm just thinking like, oh no, shrug it off and whatnot, and you know, and like I said, no, in no shade to my ex-wife because she's a beautiful person and whatnot. You just learn that she had things that she obviously had to deal with that you can't heal yourself while trying to live this life that you want to live, but you haven't healed the things that are holding you back per se. Let's say it like that,
Yeah.
right?
And I know there's some things that have come to the surface in the past, like the Chris Brown Rihanna situation that came
Yeah,
about a long time ago, where they were both feuding and it was like, an induced thing. My assumption is that was not the case on your part and she coming for you. But even if it was, it's like a level of toxicity, that most people
oh yeah,
relate to. So I just appreciate you sharing that very intimate piece on this platform. I am going to wrap it up with this question, and you've kind of touched on this about the importance of therapy. Do you think the narrative surrounding men with therapy, and particularly Black men with therapy, is changing, that it's becoming more acceptable, or that there are spaces for you guys to have these conversations?
I love the evolution of the Black community because I remember when I was young, it was either church or the barbershop, right? But thank God that we live in a time where more and more Black men are seeking out therapy because they're realizing that we are multidimensional, complicated human beings that need to seek out help, not just from our friends, because your friends will just tell you what you want to hear, or your friends, they only tell you so much they know. You have to seek out the professional help from people who actually are trained to help you in this aspect of your life or whatnot. Because it only gets you so far, and you can only go so far. That's going to actually help you in your journey. So, no, I just love that we are in a time, and it's a great time to be alive. I say it like that as a black man because the stigma of therapy is no longer there. You know,
Love that. I love to hear you say that. I'm experiencing it, but I'm also a black female, and I do think it's kind of easier for us to talk about our feelings. So to hear you as a black male say that is encouraging.
no, absolutely. And anyone who's watching as a black man, I would encourage you to find that tribe of men that you can be open to. Now, I know it's not easy to be as men open up to each other, but you'll be surprised when you find that you can actually be open to and be transparent with. Because you can't do it with everybody. I get that as a man, right? But you'll be surprised that the tribe you'll find inadvertently by reaching out to other black men that are like-minded like yourself. And then inadvertently, you'll find that tribe or that health professional that can help you.
And I love that word tribe. I use it often. Even with Girl Talk, it's the Girl Talk tribe. So I resonate with all of that. So for those who want to support you, follow you, find you, buy your book, all the things, how can they find you? What are your platforms, websites, social media handles?
You know what? I go by Not Your Average Agent on all platforms, but average is AVG, not the whole thing spelled out, all one word. And in the public experience, either or. But all my books are on there. Anything as far as the podcast, anything as far as you trying to, buy a home, I can help you with that also. So look
Yeah.
forward to finding you guys soon.
And just to give a little bit more information, what is the pull-up experience? Because people may not
Uh,
know.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. The Pull Experience is a podcast where we do this right here. We get those stories that help either educate, empower, or encourage those entrepreneurs, creatives, change makers to keep going forward in their journey, whether it be 5 minutes or 5 years they started. And it does okay.
Well, it's doing more than okay. Hats off to you. So, thank you guys for tuning in, hearing about Brandon's story. You can catch him at the next Girl Talk, something for the fellas. Hi, guys, and welcome to Girl Talk. This is Girl Talk One on One. I have the luxury of speaking with the one and only photographer, Stephen D. Jackson. Here is some behind the scenes tea. Stephen is a good friend of mine who also goes by Alien. So I may slip up and call him Alien, but I am really referring to Stephen. So, Stephen, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, that was beautiful. Yeah, I'm Stephen D. Jackson. As you can see, kind of clumsy, silly. But no, I'm a photographer here in Cleveland, Ohio. I love to travel, go to conferences, learn, collaborate, connect, all about the positive journey. So anything positive, you can find me around.
Now, Steven, I feel like we can go back a little bit, and I honestly don't remember when we met or when we started connecting. We definitely started working together at least a couple of years ago when I needed headshots, and I was
Yeah.
probably working on When Love Wins.
Yes.
And for me, to be honest, like getting a good photographer, being darker skinned, just having that knack is rare. You know what I'm saying? So to connect with you, to fall in love with what you did with my headshots and you being tuned into that, like you won me over.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's teamwork, you make it easy.
Oh, you better go ahead. Okay.
Oh, well done.
So I'm excited to have you on this next conversation, something for the fellas. So, as you know, this is our very first all male panel
Yeah,
discussion.
it is.
And I know it's like by popular demand. I know the women are going to show up. They want to hear from you guys. I've had some fellas hit me up in the past, like, what's up with the men? So,
Okay.
we finally got something for you. As you're probably already familiar, the Girl Talk platform is really a safe space for those to share, leaders in the community, to share vulnerably. Often we're wearing a lot of hats, we're doing a lot of things, and we're not tending to self, or we don't have these spaces to get empathetic, other empathetic ears who understand our plight, who understand what we're going through. And I think men in general probably lack those spaces. Would you agree with that statement? What's been your experience with that?
Um, I'm more about you are what you attract, and then if there's not, I'm a firm believer. If there's not something, then create it. So my situation may be different, but from the outside looking in, and to compare female to male, then yes, I could say those space are not as of abundance as far as female networks and spaces.
Do you feel like that's something that you've longed for or desire to be able to connect with other male leaders? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
Truly, I want to connect with everybody that's doing something positive. So whether that's male, female, if you're doing something, great for the community, great for yourself, great for other businesses, I'm all about collaboration and positivity. So if, something that really drives me, or it could be a business, not necessarily a person, I'm naturally attracted.
So, how long have you been on this entrepreneurial path? Give us a little history.
Hmm. I want to say going back to a teenager, it really started with music, to be honest. That was my first like introduction to entrepreneurship. Not as much as I know about music and the music biz now, but that's kind of where it started, and it kind of picked up from different things and poetry to being an author and now photography business. So yes.
So, you've been out here hustling for a minute. What have you learned on this journey, especially crossing different industries like you have?
I actually spoke about this on a recent episode that I'm releasing on Industry Talk. Illionized Photos, Industry Talk, relationships. Those are very important. And to maintain those relationships is communication. That's the biggest thing. So, relationships and communication is my biggest thing. You got to communicate with yourself, whether that's a schedule, whether that's taking notes, having a log, or following up with meetings with different people. That communication and relationships is important.
So, how do you stay in communication? Do you have accountability or mentors or key folks that are in your space that are helping you to keep moving forward with your goals?
Yes, I have a few mentors I can speak on. Sean Lee Jones, one of my first mentors, and that's when I was kind of crossing over from poetry to photography. Um, like I told him that I was serious, and he really pushed me, let me be behind the scenes on a couple of his shoots at an early time before I got started. And then also Jamar with Launch Arts. Oh my goodness, a great mentor. And we do a lot of productions together and we teach each other. So, but those two, as far as keeping me accountable, has been heavy.
So, what advice would you give to young men looking for mentorship? How did you find these amazing men to mentor you?
Well, Sean introduced me to Jamar, but again, going back to relationships, someone is connected to someone, or, someone knows Obama, someone knows Nicole, someone knows Steven, someone knows this person, someone knows Alien, someone. So, shaking hands like, oh, I know someone that, does music. Oh, I know someone that writes book and publish. Oh, I know someone who does X, Y, and Z. So, someone's connected to someone. So if you keep shaking hands, keep being genuine, those connections gonna come around.
I definitely have to attest to that because, as you may know, I'm a typical introvert. And those who don't know me probably don't know that because I show up. But that was the piece that I knew God was leading me to do that was very outside of my comfort zone. And so I'm more, I'm really good with one on ones and small groups. But to like be out there and hitting networking events, that was very uncomfortable for me. But now I see the fruit of it. So it sounds like that's a lot of what you were doing was networking, correct?
Yes, and trust me, I'm an introvert myself, so trust me, I'll be taking like 3 days off the next day. Right, like, oh, that workshop, oh, trust me, my phone was like, bare minimum.
Right. So you're referring to the workshop Podcasting 102 that you and the lovely Bree at Overflow Studios just did. So
Yes,
excellent
ma'am.
job.
Thank
I
you.
attended, so it was definitely well done.
Thank you.
But, you just confirmed, especially as being a writer or different other artistic professionals, we do tend to be more introverted.
Yeah,
But you see the reward, you see the fruit of when you put yourself out there. Now, the thing I've learned is it's not about meeting a whole bunch of people, it's about making strategic key relationships, and you touched on relationships.
right.
And it's like you and I, that was a key relationship between a mutual friend. I connected with Jumar. That's opened the door for my goddaughter to work with him. And even connecting with you connected me with Bree, Brandon, the pull up experience. So it's like a ripple effect, like the
Mhm.
gold mine in people. You never
Yeah,
know like where it's going to lead you. And the thing that I love is that we're spurring each other on. It feels like an organism, and you touched on this earlier, people who value community building, community service, these are like minded people with similar values, right? So I feel like it's our tribe. Like, this is the tribe, right?
that's right.
Yeah. So for the next girl talk, something for the fellas, what is one thing that you're looking forward to discussing or just experiencing in that atmosphere?
I'm excited. I kind of want to be just blown away about the experience, you know. I know how important and big this is for you and why you started. And, before it was even an event, when it was virtual. I think I had a chance to do one virtual, but yeah, I think I was so busy at the time I couldn't ever catch them. But when it was live, I caught more live events. So I think I just, expect greatness. I think everyone on the panel is very genuine, could be vulnerable, powerful in our own right, and also I could say we're all creative. So yeah, it's gonna be a great panel. I expect nothing less than amazing.
Well, you're definitely in good company. And so, those who want to reach out to you, want to learn more about your services, what are your platforms, social media handles, websites, all the good things?
Yes, well, you can find me at alieneyesphotos.com. Alien Eyes with a Z, photos with a S, alieneyesphotos.com. Just released a new podcast, Alien Eyes Photos Industry Talk on most streaming platforms, keyword most. And yeah, visit my website if you want to follow me. It's still at Alien Eyes Photo. Everything Alien Eyes Photos. You type on Alien Eyes Photos, I should pop up if you want to get in contact with me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Alien.
Hey, see you soon. Thank you.
My brother said something as well, and y'all talked about um, your own household. How could you go out into the environment without watering your own seeds, right? But what about when you have those seeds in your house and they don't respect it, right? So what about? And I'm speaking for my personal because you brought it up and he brought it up, and now it's only right that I close with this. So it's like I'm this person who does all of these things, have all of these resources, have all these accolades, and I have a 20-year-old daughter. And I stay in the projects. I got an apartment. But of course, I moved my mother out. As soon as I got a bag, I moved my mother out to the suburbs. And I moved my daughter out there too, right? So my daughter been with me for the last 6 years. When I got the partnership with Cleveland Clinic, I signed the contract and I said, I'm not signing this contract unless my daughter can get a job fresh out of high school. So my daughter graduated high school 2023, John Hay, Science and Medicine, top of her class. She graduated, got the job, failed the drug test. Couldn't get the job smoking weed. So I got her another job through my partnership at Cleveland Clinic. I got her in a laundry facility. It was a little tougher. I worked at this job for 6.5 years. I understand it was tough, but she worked there for 2 months, quit the job. She got 10 other jobs, quit the job. I bought her a prom dress for prom for $1,600, and she didn't go. She kept the $1,600. One day I came in my room, my closet was broke. $300 of mine was missing. I'm looking for my money. Nobody in the house but my daughter. Another time, $100 of mine's missing, right? And all that shit is petty. I ain't even really tripping on the money. But it's like somebody like Precious, understand what it is to have a father because there's not one present. Mm-hmm. My young guy, Dewan, who I talked to y'all about, loves me to death because he understands what it's like to not have a father present. But what about the ones who don't respect a present father? My daughter, I love my daughter to death. I would give her anything. But we at odds in my own house right now. And I want to give her the world. I got a mental health therapy service. She got a lot of trauma from her mother. You know what I'm saying? I won't speak on because I love her mother, even though we're not on good terms. But I love her enough not to speak bad about her, right? I offer my daughter therapy services and she won't go. She won't go. So everything that I have in my household, everything that I built, moved her in the suburbs, got her a prom dress, gave her these jobs, all of it, threw it away. And all she can do is talk bad about me. You know how much that hurt? Because how hard I work and how much these kids love me outside in the community. But when I come inside the house, that's where it hurts the worst. But through it all, having that emotional intelligence and understanding emotions and making the best decision based off everybody around me versus me, I still stay in that household with her. And I'm going to allow her to come to me as a woman when she get ready, and she going to talk. But right now, that shit tough. So you got the Martin Luther Kings who they say never was in his daughter's life. You got the Dennis Rodmans who say Dennis Rodman, not even her father. But I have to sit back and just think like, what if they was going in a household and their kids didn't receive them that much? You know what I'm saying? I don't know that story, but I know mine's.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. To continue the conversation, join our Girl Talk community by following @GirlTalkCLE on Instagram and Facebook.com/HTOHB, where you can join the Girl Talk Facebook group. You can follow me personally on Instagram @HTOHB, on Facebook.com/HTOHB, and at YouTube.com/@HTOHB. Feel free to reach out via email info@indiemillerpublishing.com. If you're a writer who wants to take the next steps into becoming a published author, you can book a one-on-one consultation at indiemiller.pub. Just let me know you heard about my publishing house through Girl Talk, and I'll give you a 50% discount on our one-on-one. If you like weekly inspirational nuggets, you can subscribe to my blog and monthly newsletter at NicoleDmiller.com, where you can learn more about me and my writings. Till next time.